before we start, I've got a toy. I've got a brand new toy, and I'm very, very excited about it, although I haven't really used it yet. I feel like a man with a Ferrari, but I can only go down the shop. So I'm a man with a Ferrari, but no driving licence, whatever the case may be. Hold on, you can't see that. We'll get on to Jarrod Bowen in a second, right? See this? This is magnificent. Look at that, huh? Look at the action, look at the action. Oh, now, come on. What about that? I am probably more excited about it than you are, to be fair. But I said before about the green screen, we can have some fun with this. What's the point, let's be fair, what's the point of me having that fantastic green screen? I can have any background behind me. I'm not going to pretend that I'm at the Olympic Stadium. Let's not get a green screen and pretend we're in Stratford, right? I'm not going to do that. Okay, you know I'm not there. I'm not fooling anyone. So where can I be? You know, I know I had some really good suggestions before. The one I really remember was a really good one, which I need to speak to Gio about. But if you've got any ideas, I was going to say I could be in the snow. I could just go and stand in the garden, really, at the moment. Look, it's a bit of fun. If you've got any ideas, it'd be really interesting to read them down below. Talking about interesting, loved the way so many of you interacted yesterday when we did the video about the players that clubs had missed out on, and some really good stories and loads of suggestions and ones that I'd missed. Just absolutely brilliant. Love the way everybody interacted. Well, I say everybody interacted on there. I'm going to swear, cover the kids' ears, a couple of kids' ears. We did seem to attract a dickhead yesterday. I am sorry to say that one of them. So I didn't order one, but one turned up anyway in the comments. And were you lovely people? Anyway, there we go. But there you go. I really enjoyed it. I thought yesterday was really, really good, and I hope that you enjoyed Jamie's video. First video Jamie's ever sent in. I thought it was really, really good. By the way, that's better. I was not in HD then. I couldn't see if it was recording or anything. Really good effort by Jamie there, and hopefully he sends in many more. I'm saying this, I'm actually recording this before I've even released it, so hopefully it was all been well received and enjoyed by everybody. I did want to speak about Jarrod Bowen, but not in the. I think he's had a little look. He's out of form. It's the truth of the matter. I think Jarrod Bowen is out of form, but I wanted to do a video saying I have absolute confidence that he is going to return back to form. I did 2 or 3 videos last season about how Bowen and Souček had saved our season, about how great it was to have somebody down the right-hand side who not only worked hard and protected the fullback, but could get assists and get goals. I was doing videos about us finally having another really good corner taker as well. For too many years we seemed to be that first man, yet there he was getting all these assists. I just don't believe he's turned into a bad player overnight, and I don't know a lot. I'm not saying that anybody else particularly thinks that, but I'm just saying I've actually got faith this season. I think he's going to turn it around. I think he's going to start playing really, really well again, and we really need him to, by the way, because there's it's a really paper thin squad. I think we'll deal with that in videos that are going to be coming up in the very, very near future about the composition of the squad, about who's fit and who's firing, who's not. But in terms of Bowen, look, Bowen is a brilliant player. He really is. Is he one of the best wingers in the league? No. In fact, I'll tell you who probably is. I don't know if you'd call him a winger, all right? But Mo Salah. He's sort of a right forward, isn't he? Cuts in on his left foot. He's almost the only consistent player that I can think of off the top of my head. I'm sure you'll tell me underneath, all right, other ones, but so many players are streaky. At the moment, Bowen is out of form, but I think he'll come back into form. Then I started looking at it, and I started thinking, well, hold on, who are good wingers? And then you look at all the players that Chelsea have bought. Chelsea got loads of wingers, and they're patchy. They're in and out of form. Man United have players that are in and out of form. I think it's harder to say with Man City because the moment they have, the moment Bernardo Silva's out of form, then, Phil Foden comes in, or, Cancelo, is a right back, but, he's almost becomes an attacking player. They've just got so many. I don't think it's a great example. But even players that we think are, really good. Alan Saint-Maximin, great player. I really like him. But, let's be fair, he's a bit patchy and he's a bit streaky. And I think what's happened is we've always had those players at West Ham, patchy and streaky players, because the fact of the matter is, we can't afford the totally consistent, brilliant wingers. Raheem Sterling, for instance, we can't afford Raheem Sterling. So what do you get? Well, I was going to say we tend to get broken players. I don't mean Jarrod Bowen is broken, far from it. But I often make the comparison with Paolo Di Canio. We got Paolo Di Canio because he was broken, because he basically assaulted a referee. That's why the reason we got Di Canio, why? Well, because we couldn't afford Bergkamp. Because Bergkamp is the unbroken version of Di Canio. Gianfranco Zola at Chelsea was Di Canio, but without the baggage. We sort of had to take that broken version. In the same way that, let's be fair, if Payet had played all his career for like the season he played at West Ham, we never got a sniff. Even if he was a consummate professional, we never would have got a sniff. Arnautovic, absolutely brilliant, technically a brilliant player, but let's be fair. A lot of these, basically, Abramovich is Ibrahimovic with not quite as much talent and not as much dedication. And there you go. We can't get these players. So I'm saying Bowen is a good player for West Ham. At 20 million quid, I'm not saying he's broken. I'm just saying you have to take the ones that aren't as consistent. And maybe that's it. Maybe that's all that's happening. And I do actually think he's going to get back on the goal trail. I do actually think he's going to carry on assisting from now until the end of the season. Whether he features as our striker, I don't know. This is really a very, very interesting one, I feel, because who's going to play up front? Well, we know it's not going to be Yarmolenko. I am not pleased to see Yarmolenko injured at all. He's had a terrible West Ham career in terms of injury. He had a terrible Dortmund career in terms of injury. I don't want to see him injured, but I didn't want to see him up front either. So Moyes is going to have to rethink it. He really is. I mean, if by some miracle Mikel Antonio is fit for every game between now and the end of the season, brilliant. It's not something we have to worry about, I guess, in that sense. But it's certainly something we're going to have to factor in and we're going to have to prepare for. Would Bowen be used as one of those players? Well, quite possibly. Quite possibly. Somebody made a really good point about Bowen, and I do apologise, because you're going to watch this thing. Oh, that was me! It was me that made that point. All right, it's not my point. Somebody else's point entirely, but I do think it's a good one, and I apologise, I can't remember. Right? They said that when Bowen first came into West Ham, he was getting the ball played in front of him, and he was running onto the ball, and I certainly remember that, particularly. I remember we had Haller there, and just before he scored his first goal, he almost scored almost exactly the same goal, and he was very much running into it and arriving from late. And they made the point that actually he's a lot of the time now he's receiving the ball with his back to goal, which I think, a little nuanced tactical observation, which is far beyond me, you understand, which is why it's good that somebody else made the point. And I do think it's really vitally important that we have a look at that and we think, well, actually, maybe not everything is wrong. Look, maybe he's unfit. Maybe there's a little bit, there's a couple of things wrong here or there. But I don't think it's major. I got really annoyed with him in Man United games. I thought he didn't lift his head up. I do think that he carries the ball a little bit too much. And I think he dribbles a little bit too much. Could release the ball earlier. But these are not insurmountable problems, are they? This is not something that we can't rectify. It's not something that is impossible, not beyond the will of man to sort this out on the training ground. It's a few drills and getting your head up and some one-on-one coaching or whatever it is. But he's got plenty of talent. I think he's got really good close ball control. I think he's nippy without being rapid, which is good enough to But he works hard. He'll outwork a lot of his markers. And I also do think as well that if you look not just the assists from the corners. Actually, there was a point last season when he was assisting Antonio as well and sort of getting down the right wing and sort of almost passing or crossing it over. Small margins to get Jarrod Bowen playing really, really well again. And I think we'll be there. We're not going to have a huge amount of choice. Apparently the rumour is, and we'll go into this more when we do our review ahead of Sheffield United, which is Monday night game. So I guess we'll be doing the review on Saturday. Maybe only 15 senior players. Well, this is the time for the youth team. This really is the time. And I thought it was really interesting with Jamie's video as well, with what he said about putting an arm around Odebeko, and I do think that's really, really important. My attention was brought to a post on social media which somebody had written about Odebeko, and they were as harsh. I don't like the word harsh, right? I don't like to be called harsh if I make a footballing opinion. But I think sometimes things require a little bit of context. And I say that because this was a direct reply to an Odebeko tweet. And I don't want to put the guy's tweet up here because I don't particularly, as a result of this, want someone, getting any more hate than... I don't want to get involved in all of that at all. And to be fair, a number of West Ham fans went on there and said, "Oi, mate, do you realise you're talking to an 18-year-old here?" And I think what Odebeko had said was, "I'm absolutely delighted and honoured to have played my first game in the FA Cup for West Ham and to have represented this great club." Look, he made a nice tweet about how proud he was to have featured for West Ham. And what's happened is someone's gone out there and pointed out every single tactical inadequacy and everything that he had done wrong in the game. And I think he said, sort of, "What's wrong with you? What's happened?" It was too much, when really it was a message directly at him. It should have been, "Listen, don't worry, mate. Chin up. We go again. Let's hope you get a few more games under your belt next season." Whatever the case may be. But I do think it is important that actually he is made to feel part of the club, and I'm sure they will. I'm pretty sure that Moyes knew. I don't know how wise it is. The only thing that gives me hope is I know he hauled Ben Johnson off after 25 minutes in one of the games, possibly against Bournemouth. I'm pretty sure after that he would have said to Ben Johnson, "Look, mate, I had to take you off there. It wasn't working." And you certainly get the impression now that he's gone away and he's worked on something, and now Ben Johnson's come back, and Ben Johnson is very much feels part of the squad. You can tell that in the way that he speaks, and you can now see Moyes is starting to trust him more. So I'm pretty certain Moyes would have known that when he substituted him, that boy would have been disappointed. Honestly, he looked like the loneliest person in the world. Let's be fair, when he was sat on that bench, that dugout. I think it's not just a dugout, is it, Emmanuel? There's like a wall and a load of seats behind it and all that. He looked like the loneliest person in the world. And I don't think it particularly helps with COVID, because COVID, when they sit on that bench, they've all got to be separate, which I think is a farce, by the way. Bearing in mind they're all running around on the pitch together and all the rest of it anyway. Bearing in mind they've all got tested and they are actually in a bubble. They might as well just all sit on the bench, let's be perfectly honest. But I felt it, under other circumstances, he would have gone and sat on a bench and there would have been someone on there who would have said, "Don't worry, mate." They would have given his tracksuit top, put their arm around him, or not even that, just maybe a little bit of banter, a little bit of Mickey taking all this. That he wouldn't have been sat there on his own at Old Trafford, the club he's left, with a BBC camera zooming on him. I felt sorry for him, and I do think it's really important because, number one, we're going to need him, and number two, there's no advantage to West Ham for this boy feeling crap. And it wasn't horrendous. Let's be absolutely frank here. It wasn't horrendous, and ideally he wouldn't even have featured in a game that we needed desperately to win. There have been other games when he could and should have featured. And I think the fact that we were so desperate to either get a goal or, once they scored, get a goal back, makes it frustrating when your team is just not scoring and not looking like posing a threat. And so I think it was a little bit bad. I don't like the word harsh. I don't think this guy that... I wouldn't even call it trolling, because I don't think this guy that posted all this stuff was saying anything about his family or anything like this. But what it was insensitive, and it wasn't the right thing to say. And as a number of people said, "Mate, come on." And to be honest, he should have taken it down, because what's the best thing? What's the best thing that can happen? Mipo Odebeko reads it and thinks, "Oh, okay, right. So this guy thinks I'm not going to list everything he said, actually, but everything that you can think about that a player might do on a football pitch during the course of a game." Every facet was sort of pulled apart, And I said, there was no need for it, really. It was, to use a word that I don't like, harsh. There we go. Anyway, so hopefully we've not been too harsh on Jarrod Bowen. I think that he is needs to get his head up a little bit. I do think he'll come back to form. I think if he's tired, I don't think the substitution thing helps him particularly. But I also don't think it's the big deal that some are making out, that it is suddenly he's depressed because he gets substituted so much. No, look, Jarrod Bowen would. I think, look, when he's delighted to be playing at West Ham, he's delighted to be playing in the Premier League. Don't forget, he's come from Hull City there, and then did Hull get relegated after he left? Perhaps they did. I'm not entirely sure. He's going to be delighted to be playing in the Premier League. Would he like to feature more? Yes. Would he like to be pulled off as often as... would he like to be substituted as frequently as he is? Probably not. Probably not. And I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. Let me know about the green screen, will you? What do you... Oh, dear.